This is Garrett J. White, the authentic entrepreneur, coming at you real, coming at you raw, and coming at you relevant. And this, my friends, is the Daily Download. Now, this week we've been really focusing on the idea of shifting the focus on bringing out the handy-dandy flip chart. So instead of the snap, we've gone to the can't do it or else it'll bring it out. Are you ready? Bring on the clap, bring on the clap. Holy smokes, that was pretty intense. Got to slow that clap down, it's a little too loud. So principle number 2 in the Pay to Play Academy is that permission activates potential. Now, I'd heard a quote often said in my life and in many other people's lives. I've heard this reference many, many times, a quote by Marianne Williamson out of her book called Return to Love. And one of the things that she says is the following. She says that when we stand in our brilliance, we consciously give others permission to stand in theirs. She also declares that there's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others feel comfortable around you. Now, the first times I heard this, I was like, what does this woman mean? But as I began to look at it further and further, I started to understand. Now, let's look at this idea of potential, and let's look at this idea of permission, and how permission itself for ourselves in our lives and getting what we want oftentimes comes from those outside of us. I'd like to say that we all just tap into our divine brilliance all the time, but we just don't. An example of this is the conversation of running. So a number of years back, about 7 years ago, this is about what I could do running-wise. I felt the back jiggle, the belly jiggle, you know what I'm talking about? That back jiggle, belly jiggle, I was like, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. I ran around the block and I was exhausted. Now, I came from the collegiate sport world of speed. So the idea of running far was pure suicide. Now, I started running more and more. And one of the things that started happening is I started getting better. Wow, that was interesting and weird. But what happened in my journey of getting into ultra sports, now running 100-mile ultra marathons, 150-mile ultra marathons, Ironman triathlons, and the works, what gave me permission was not myself. See, I was sitting there between Christmas and New Year's, and this was in 2005. I was 30 pounds overweight, I was unhappy with my body, and I sat down on the internet after putting on probably 10 pounds of my mother-in-law's cooking. God bless her, great cook, but not so good for the midsection. So I'm sitting there feeling totally, you know the feeling I'm talking about? And I click on the internet. Now, my sister was a collegiate runner, marathoner, etc. And she would say, I'm going for a short run. And she'd run like 16 miles. Like, no, you are smoking weed, you're crazy. So I would sit there in this idea, and I'm looking at the internet, and I read this story about this woman in her mid-40s who has 5 children, who lost 75 pounds and ran a marathon in less than 4 hours. Whew. I was inspired because in my head, I wasn't the fat guy. In my head, I was the athlete still from college football. And I thought, I can do this. If she can do this, I can do this. If she can do this, I can do this. And without knowing it, this woman, by putting her story online, had created permission that activated what? My potential. As we speak of this exact moment of this download, I currently run between 15 to 20 miles every single day in training for 4, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 100-mile ultra marathons, running straight with no sleep, but those are just my training runs, because this year in September, I'm running 188 miles straight, a 12-person solo race, but I'm running it by myself. And you know what? God bless that mid-40-year-old woman for giving me permission to activate my potential. The fun thing is, I've probably inspired thousands, and I know for certain hundreds, to run, to become fit, and to enjoy the power of this temple, the body, because of what I've done. And it all started with permission. My name is Garrett J. White, and this has been the Daily Download.